Athelete, belle la moustache et la capuchon. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, takatiki. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Sito patamilo, vilata, katiki, bunetika. Athelete, belle la moustache et la capuchon.
What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today, I'm going to put to rest a topic that has been going on for some time, and it has always been a either or topic. And there's always been the thing where one side doesn't want to offend the other side, and the other side wants to not offend them, try to give them credit, and things of that such nature. Because at the end of the day, they tend to travel in the circles of each other, and they don't want to come off as buttholes when they want to speak to each other. So I'm going to put to rest the entire topic, and I'm going to give you the reasons for it all. So the topic at hand is who's better? Who's the better athlete? Football players or basketball players? Now that has been something that has been the topic for a very long time. Now, here's the thing about this particular topic. The conversation, because I think it was LeBron James who brought it up, where he talked about the fact that, you know, so many guys play football and they can convert over to football, but you don't see them convert over to basketball. And I can understand the reasoning for that particular argument, but it's a null argument when I tell you what's going on. So let's start from the beginning. Basketball players are in fact athletes. It's no doubt about that. They're very athletic guys. They're very durable. They know what they're doing. They understand how to play basketball. But when you're talking about the best athletes, hands down, it's football players. And here's why. When it comes to football players, football actually encompasses more athletes than any other sport there is. So when you think about this, more football players end up being 3, 4, and 5 sport guys before they even play pro ball. So, or even for them to play college ball. Most of those guys are in fact multiple sport athletes. Football is the only sport where you get basketball players, where you get football players, you get basketball players, you get track stars, you get hockey players, you get rugby players, you get wrestlers, you also get people, Olympic stars. So you also get soccer players as well. So it's one of those things. Oh, you also get baseball players. So it's one of those sports where it encompasses so many different players from different sports that's why you get the most athletic guys in it. Like when you think about a lot of this stuff, so many times people think that, oh, well, it's football, they're banging their heads, their schedule is short and things of that such nature. But they are the most athletic people when it comes to athleticism and sports and a lot of other things. Because again, the athlete is what he is. But when it comes to most football players, they play other sports because their seasons are short. And because their seasons are short, they end up in situations where they get the opportunity to learn other things by playing these other sports. Most football players do end up doing track. Most football players do wrestle. Most football players actually go play baseball. Most football players, they'll go do tennis. They'll golf. They'll do all types of things. So they encompass the entirety, or they'll go play basketball. They encompass an entirety of the sports realm. Whereas most basketball players, they only play basketball. They don't play any other sport. Or when they finally do, or when they play another sport, it's when they're so young. And that's the difference between that. Because again, you have on one hand a player and a basketball player that they are skilled players. They know what they're doing and things like that. But you get another athlete who plays the sport he's in plus several other sports because his season is just short and he gets the benefit of playing all those other sports. Now, again, I don't want to sit here and make it like, because LeBron James' discussion was more about we've never seen a football player convert over to the basketball side and become a star. That is not true. Now, for those who've lived in the area that I live in, I live in the DMV area. For those who know about this area, we've had multiple guys who've done the football, basketball thing. But when it comes to the NBA, the most notable guy that every NBA player either tries to model themselves after or talk about how great he is Allen Iverson. Now, for y'all who are not from this area, Allen Iverson was a huge football star in Newport News, Virginia. Huge. In fact, Michael Vick and Marcus Vick, the Vick brothers, said that their biggest influence was Allen Iverson, as did D'Angelo Hall. D'Angelo Hall said that when it came to football, Allen Iverson was their biggest example of how good a football player should be. Allen Iverson was one of the best quarterbacks in the DMV area. He was, and also he could run the ball too. So when there's the argument of, hey, football players can't make the transition over to basketball, that's actually not true. Because one of the greatest basketball players was actually a football player. And the only reason he stopped playing football was because he felt that he wasn't big enough to keep up with the guys he was going to be playing against. That's the only reason why. So understand this. Even when you think about the upper echelon of your play of basketball royalty, understand that Allen Iverson is a football player. He's a top level athletic football player. And again, you go back to he was able to play basketball because he was playing football. And I think Allen Iverson back then, I think he also played basketball, I think he played baseball, and he played another sport. But Iverson was an all-around he was an all-around athlete, an all-around star. And yeah, I get it. I get that sometimes as the person playing the sport, it's hard to sit up there and actually admit that some people from other sports are better than you, or other athletes are actually the more dominant athlete. But it's actually true. Football players do a lot of stuff. Like an example is Gilbert Arenas prides himself on his 4.5 flat, right? Well, guess what? In football, you can take a 310 pound dude who's 6'5", and he can basically do exactly that 4.5 flat burst that you are doing as well. Like, understand, you have guys that are freak athletes in the NFL that could do stuff that you don't expect for them to do. Not only that, let's also talk about where they go after their football careers are over. So many of them go into other athletic sports and become huge stars in those sports. When you think about, I understand this is probably controversial in saying this, but when you think about pro wrestling, right? Yes, I get it. I'll say what they say. Even though the outcomes are predetermined, the physicality of wrestling, of only football players can do that. And I know some people want to say, what about Dennis Rodman? He wasn't really a wrestler. But when you think about all the guys who've been football players, who've set up there and become professional wrestlers, it goes from the top of the top when you think about Junkyard Dog and goes all the way down to Trick Williams. So understand, there's tons of guys who've played football that are actually pro wrestlers now. So again, you have this thing where even though, and I think that what happens is that a lot of times, I think that when this argument comes up or this discussion comes up, it's almost like saying we're not superior to those guys. It's not that, because basketball players are superior athletes as well. But again, they're not on the level of a football player. Like, understand, Jokic isn't going to bring his butt to the NFL and become a mega star or a superstar or anything for that such nature, because he's slow and he comes off as kind of lazy. Neither does Luka. But those guys are your superstars. Currently right now, where a group of people who talk about how they're bigger, faster, and more athletic, you're being outpaced by a slow-moving European athlete who who basically plays the game like he's still in the 90s. So again, it's not to say that you guys aren't athletes. And when it comes to skill, you guys are very skilled as well. But understand, NFL players and football players are just as skilled. Do you understand how difficult? Like, I'll say this. It's hard to shoot a shot from 24, 30, 32 feet away and make it into a basket. That is difficult. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But you know what else is difficult? To throw a ball 40, 50, and 60 yards away to a moving target with pinpoint accuracy. Like that takes some real skill. It also takes some skill for a guy to run at top speed, to catch up, look behind himself, put his hands out, and try to catch a football and try his best to run and make a touchdown, all at high speed. So again, when it comes down to it, without a shadow of a doubt, the football player is in fact the superior athlete. That doesn't mean that the basketball player isn't a high-level athlete as well. But when you put them up against each other, the football player will always be the top athlete. Y'all tell me what y'all think. How many of y'all disagree with me? How many of y'all basketball players disagree with me? How many of y'all football players actually agree with me? Tell me what y'all think down in the comments below. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune. Like, comment, and subscribe. And this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.